My answer, again, speculation only, I can't speak for the postal. They are opting for the easy way out. Before, they say, we lend only upon 100% cash collateral. Now, we lend based on 90% collateral. But what I know is they are also working towards going down, lending more on an unsecured basis. I know that as a fact, but that has not been publicized widely, and they are not ready. Technically, they're not. The system is not there yet. So, I agree with you 100%. It's not there. I hope they are progressing in the right direction.
Mr. Tong, I would like to ask for your personal opinion. In view of the government, the legislative constraint and also the control of money supply in the PRC, do you think actually those microcredit organizations are less workable than NGOs such as World Vision, Oxfam? Because just like the gentleman over there said, the microcredit organizations also face severe competition with postal bank or other government-owned banks, but the government-owned banks are not very aggressive in lending microfinance. So do you think actually in PRC, under this current situation, the future of microfinance is quite pessimistic, and actually the more workable way is to use the ways just like Oxfam, World Vision, to teach them how to fish rather than to lend money to them? Yeah. I would like to seek your personal opinion on that.
I'm more optimistic than that. I'm not disagreeing with your observation to date. But on several fronts, I am more optimistic. And by the way, after I finish this one, if Bengo's allows, I would like to invite Jennifer to come in and we can share more. Firstly, microfinance, properly defined, is not a charity. It does some serious social good. And therefore, is suitable for NGOs as much as it is suitable for commercial operations. Are you aware, and I do not want to quote this too often because it's overused, but there are actually IPOs on microfinance institutions. Are you aware of that? Well oversubscribed IPOs. So it can be a money-making business, although I'm not advocating money-making. Okay, so that answers number one. It is not exclusive for NGOs. Number two, as I repeat on that, answering the question of that lady, by all means, recognize that World Vision, Oxfam, and the like are doing very good poverty alleviation work. Work together with them, different channels, different cuisines. Thirdly, I do not understand why money supply has anything to do with the development of microfinance. Quite to the contrary, because of the money supply situation in China being government controlled very much, it can be channeled down to the proper MFIs like tomorrow, as opposed to relying on market operation. Making sense to you?
Actually, my logic is that because the money supply in PRC is highly controlled, and just as you said, the government won't allow some microcredit organizations to lend money based on the savings, and that's why the environment, I mean the surviving environment for microcredit organizations is very small. And actually, all microfinance, it depends on some government-owned or government-recognized organizations or government-recognized banks. So what I mean is that if we have limited resources, actually, should we put more resources for World Vision, Oxfam, rather than on the microcredit organizations?
It is limited resources only for two reasons. Number one, the government is not allowing microcredit companies to take deposits, right? And that can be changed with the right mindset. Agree? Yeah? You cannot have an artificial barrier to it and say this is the barrier, right? Think out of the box. What if we allow the microcredit companies to take deposits? That's one. Number two, village banks, they are allowed to take deposits. Properly developed, they can be a good source of funding. And then add to that is my last point about, since money supply is very much a government policy thing, China has good potential to supply the right amount of money for microfinance as a poverty alleviation tool. No? Jennifer? Well, 5 minutes?
Yeah, we can have a group Q&A sessions
Yep.
together
Yep.
on the stage. We still have time. We end at 5 o'clock, so we still have 10 minutes.
Are there any questions? Because otherwise I want to add to 2 points that Herman was making. One is to respond to your concerns about microfinance, and I think as Herman pointed out, I think I would be the first, Herman would be the first to say that microfinance is not a panacea. It is not the silver bullet that solves poverty. Absolutely not. But it certainly is a need that the poor have, and it is kind of what we think of as a prerequisite or a first step in many other ways to serve the poor. One thing that many people aren't aware of is that surrounding the Grameen Bank are 35 different companies that have been established in service of bettering the lives of people in Bangladesh. That's technology, that's health, education, energy, eye care, and the list goes on and on. And so I think that we have to be very careful when we speak about the power of microfinance to also recognize its limitations. But again, so that's one point. Second point, and I want to emphasize what Herman has said, when we start talking about 3.5 billion people in our world living below the poverty line, solutions cannot be projects. They have to be scalable, sustainable, and they have to be able to grow to the size of the problem that we face. Every sort of solution that we look at, and this is where the power of social enterprise comes in, taking a business approach to a social problem, has to be looked at through that lens if we're really talking about the kind of wide-scale, massive impact that I think we need to think about when we talk about poverty reduction more generally. That doesn't mean there is not a role for philanthropy, and that sort of gets me to the third point I wanted to make. Your question about China, should we be hopeful or pessimistic, and how should we allocate resources in light of that in terms of poverty reduction in China? Is microfinance worth considering is a question that, I get a lot of pushback on in my job every day. I've been in this role for a year. I cover the countries we talked about, but I spent a lot of time in China this year because we've been kind of dancing around, underinvesting, and hoping something will change. And this year we said, let's just try something different. I think that in China, just because something is hard doesn't mean it shouldn't happen. And while we can be optimistic about the postal bank, and if the postal bank were to come into microfinance, it would change the game overnight. It would be such great news. Our experience around the rest of the world is that